Hi, Tammy here. I wanted to come to you very early. It's for something, it might be 5 o'clock already, I don't know. I get up really early to get things done, and since everybody's been home, this seemed like a good time to talk to you since I won't be interrupted. I also wake up early to work anyway, so I've got my second cup of Yorkshire Gold, so we're good. Anyway, I'm here to talk to you about goals. Specifically, two things that I'm going to try to do with goals this year. When I'm sitting down and looking at my goals for 2024, these two things seem very relevant, so I wanted to make a video for a conversation opener as much as for me to try to figure out what I'm doing next year. So those two things are what is a goal versus subtasks versus just having an overwhelming amount of stuff to do in the new year, and looking at how those goals are interconnected, and maybe that can help me with trying to figure out if I have too much going on or if it's all doable, if it looks daunting. So let's talk about what that first piece, what is too much for goals. When I sat down to think about what I want to do for next year, my list was long. I'm not sure all of those are really goals. A lot of it's just tasks that I need to do, but they were on there and then I needed to keep them in mind as I was looking at my goals. But since in past years, part of my problem has been lack of focus. I'll say it, lack of focus. I wanted to make sure that my goals were very focused this year. That said, I still ended up with a dozen very all over the place goals. So I wanted to refine those as I entered the new year, just to make sure that I did maintain focus, because I know that is my big problem. I write in two genres. I write cozy mysteries and poetry. I have big goals with regards to radio projects. I have goals in other areas of my life. So I can get stretched very different directions, and sometimes those goals work against each other or they take energy away from each other. So I wanted to look at making goals in such a way that it's very focused, it's very conducive to actually getting the work done. And I'm curious, as always, you can send me an email or you can post a comment at whether you've run into this issue and maybe your thoughts on how to resolve this. So I decided to sit down and look at my list of goals, my list of a dozen things I wanted to achieve in the year. And my main goal, I'll call it that, is to write 4 books. And I looked at that and kind of wondered, is that one goal? Is that 4 different goals? Is kind of knowing my writing process. I have outlining, drafting, at least a couple revision passes. There are some goals that go along with finishing up projects before I send them out into the world. You know, I mean, is that 4 goals? Is that 8 goals? Is that 12? Is that 24, 40? I could break it down. So I wanted to take my list of goals and, you know, first of all, just break it up into sub-goals, because writing 4 books is really big and really daunting. But I've written books before. If my goal can be write this specific book, this specific book, this specific book, it becomes a lot more doable and just to my brain. It also becomes more concrete. So as I'm looking at my list of goals, even though the list seems huge already. I decided I needed to break it up into even more granular steps. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is that maybe these aren't goals, maybe these are tasks. Because I feel like a goal, using the language goal, that feels really lofty and kind of intimidating. But if I can shift the language and call this is a task, then it feels less daunting. It feels like something that I can accomplish, because I do tasks every day, right? And that kind of put me in mind of thinking, okay, if my goal is to finish a book, so I'm working right now on outlining a book that I drafted last year. It actually came out, it started as a short story a year ago. I wrote a novella because I felt like there were areas of the story that needed to be more, explored more in depth. I felt like I wasn't giving the characters enough room. And as I drafted it, turned it from a short story into a novella, I saw a good space for a subplot. Actually, a couple of subplots, which means this would function better as a novel. So as I'm going into the year, my goal might be to finish 4 books, but the task is to first draft The Wing of a Bee, that's what it's called. Take my outline, take my novella, take my original short story, and transform it into a novel draft, and that feels much more doable. You can look up SMART goals, because that's really part of taking this apart. I'm just looking at this from how do I make those SMART goals less overwhelming. And the other thing that I wanted to think about is looking at how all my goals fit together. Are they interlocking? And I eliminated actually some of my goals, which kind of took care of what is a goal, trying to stay focused, and eliminating what I don't need to do. So I kind of pushed some things off till 2025 because I wanted to make sure my goals this year were interlocking. I think my long-term goal that I should mention is that I would like to make a living as a writer. I mean, I will still keep teaching as long as they'll have me, but ultimately I want to be able to earn my living doing what I love, which is writing, which is giving people these well-crafted, entertaining moments of just being able to immerse themselves in a different world. But anyway, that's something different. So I'm trying to look at all my goals and in a focused way, so that I can see where they interlock. So, for example, this one novel that I'm working on earlier is standalone for now. I could turn it into a series, but I've got plans for this one. But the next 2 that I'm going to write after that are interlocking in the sense that they're set in the same world. I have an outline for my next Amy Morrison novel to follow on Venus Rising from earlier this year. And I have my next Stacy novel set in the same world, different town. It's Amy's hometown. But these 2 goals interlock because the story that I'm working on in that second Amy book ties into the story in the second Stacy book. So I can see them as interlocking. And so they are goals still, in the sense that this is stuff that I want to do, but they're also tasks in the sense that these are all steps that are going to get me to my 5-year. I'm using 5-year because we like 5s and 10s and stuff like that. But anyway, it doesn't matter the year. It's just kind of a large overarching goal that I guess I have. And these are some tasks that I need to do to accomplish that goal. So seeing my goals in context of that longer term goal is really helpful to me, because it becomes not just a thing in itself that I want to accomplish. It's part of a longer term achievement, right? A longer term goal. And even moving up a level from that, why do I want to make a living as a writer? Because that is a measure of success, that I am giving readers what they want. And that is huge to me. As a poet, I was just really surprised when the feedback that I got from the novel was outside the community of that I'm normally in, because poets tend to get their most feedback from people who are poetry readers, or like people in the poetry community already. So it was really lovely to get reviews and feedback from people I didn't already have connections to, I'll say it that way. So that was really lovely, knowing that I could give people this moment of entertainment, escape, whatever you want to call it. It's great. I think we need more of that in our lives. I certainly do. That's why I read, just to kind of be transported somewhere else and so on. So there's that goal of, giving readers something that they value. But there's also the goals that I want to do this for myself. I want to do this for my family too. Certainly there is the satisfaction of knowing that publishers have accepted these books, these 2 books that are already in the Dawville Sisters mystery series. That's what that series is called. There is that satisfaction knowing that I can do that. But I also am seeing the even broader goal that, I want, my main concern in my life is my family, of course, right? I think that's true for all of us. And succeeding as a writer makes me feel satisfied with what I do, but it also makes me a better mom. It makes me a better partner to my husband, right? Because I think when we are fulfilled as people, we are more fulfilled in our relationships. When I get my writing in for the morning, when I wake up at 4 o'clock and I get my 1,500 words in for the day, I feel like I can focus better, because I get a lot of energy from getting that work done. So kind of giving myself that 10,000 foot view, like Google Maps, right? If you can see the landscape, point A to point B gives you a better understanding of the journey as a whole. Seeing my goals in that light has also helped me to focus on what's important. Writing the mysteries, writing the poetry, those all give me momentum. They all give me progress on that goal of making a living as a writer, and that makes me feel a better person. I guess you could say it that way. I understand this is totally my own experience, and what works for me does not work for everyone. I can say that I'm an outliner. I like to know where I'm going, when I'm going to be there, both in fiction and poetry, but also like in life, right? So I feel like I'm kind of making my outline for the year, because I'm also making it easier for myself to know where I'm going and how I need to pace myself and how I need to get there. But also kind of like outlining the next 5 or 10 years, however you want to say it. So anyway, I hope this has given you a way of thinking about your own goal setting for the next year, for the next 5 years, however long you want to think about it. Because I know situations change and we can't plan for everything. Certainly in the last couple of years, things have come up that have taken my attention away from goals. But, we're in a good place now. And I feel like I can think about the next year, the next 5 years now in a way that is more focused. So anyway, if you have thoughts on this, if you approach things differently and they work for you, please let me know. Again, I keep saying this, I'm sure. I'll say it again. I want this to be a conversation. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are on goals. Do you have a big ambitious list? Do you have one goal? Are you trying to take your list of goals and see how they fit together? Or do you like having things discrete because having separate things to think about, separate things to work on gives you energy? Let me know. You can drop a comment down below, or you can send me an email, dancingwiththedistance@gmail.com. And I will see you next week. I'm going to talk word of the year next week.